am Beck and welcome to a video where I quickly discuss what I am currently reading because there are several things. Because I accidentally thought, oh, I've got some interesting titles on my library app Libby. I'm going to put them on hold and then read them soon. And it turned out they were actually available now. So I've borrowed a whole bunch of stuff all at the same time and I've got some physical books that I'm reading too. So I thought I'd put them in a video so that you know how chaotic my October TBR actually is. Firstly, I finally got the new release for Lore Olympus, which is volume 5. And while I didn't really vibe with the beginning of this book, I'm obviously halfway through as you can see, and I'm liking it more so now. The characters in the story are grabbing me a lot more, but it seems to isolate me sometimes in terms of the storytelling and the pace. Sometimes it just jumps rapidly and I struggle to keep up. And I don't know if that's because I would benefit more from rereading the previous volume, so I'm more like up to date before I read into this one. I'm really not sure. I've just got to keep going and then see what I think. At the moment it's sitting around a 4 stars, so I hope that it remains at that level or even higher. We'll see what happens in the last half because I think I can read this quite quickly, but I've just been a bit flat chat and I haven't had a chance to sit down and read it, which is sad because it's a graphic novel. Like, it shouldn't take me this long. Then, as you might know, I'm currently reading City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett, and this is the first book in a sci-fi murder mystery trilogy, and it's about Shara. She's a political envoy who is skilled in the art of, I feel like I want to say assassination, but she's got a bodyguard that does that kind of thing for her and protects her from physical obstacles. She's more political and mental though, and I like that she's all about uncovering mysteries and strategy, and her colleague is all about killing people and knocking their heads together to make a point. It's a great dynamic. Anyway, this one's about Shara, who goes to try and solve the murder of her previous mentor. His name is Dr. Ephraim Pangui. He obviously has been killed and Shara is trying to track the murderer down and find out why he was killed. He's got a lot of obvious political enemies, but you don't really know if it's one of those or something a little bit more convoluted. I feel like Shara is going to pull on a thread and a lot of things are going to unravel, and at the moment I feel a little bit stupid reading this book because it's got a lot of political intrigue, but in a good way. It name drops a lot of things and I'm not keeping up all the time with the world building, but I am enjoying it as I'm reading it, and I think it's going to stick more the more examples of it that I see. I'm genuinely quite enjoying myself when I pick this up. I'm 130 pages into it though, so it's been a bit more slow going, and I did reserve the audiobook on Libby as well. This one was intentional, but I've realized that I've got the next couple of days off work, so I'm not going to be listening to an audiobook on my commute, so I might end up actually reading this physically, and that might be the quicker way that I get through it, but we'll see. Also, it's worth mentioning that this is also sitting at a 4-star rating. It can only hopefully get better. I'm reading another physical book as well. I'll get to the audiobooks shortly, and that is The Lost War. I talked a little bit about this in a reading vlog, which will be up as my next video, but I'm ultimately enjoying this and I thought I might not. So I'm kind of relieved that I don't hate this. I'm 100 pages into it, so I haven't read further than my latest vlog update. So I hope I've got a few more days reading under my belt before I update again in that next video. I assume that I will. This one is following Aranok, and he's a war veteran and he's also best buddies with the king. The way that this is set up, the king has brought everybody together in the city or the continent of Eodin, and it looks like the king knows something is going on in addition to the war, but he isn't certain what that is, and so he sends Aranok and this group of ragtag people that he's gathered together on this quest to go out and find out what is happening. And it seems like there is a rise in demons in this world. So when a fantasy book combines demons, magic, and intrigue, I'm really interested in it. The war that is occurring has killed off a lot of the good soldiers as well. So there's also that risk going out into the wild where there are lots of enemies, there are demons, and it's really not a place that you're probably going to survive very long. So putting all these characters together with different backgrounds and capabilities in magic or not is proving to be interesting so far. And the writing style is actually grabbing me a lot, and I didn't think that it would. It was really borderline. I'm like, this is a very traditional fantasy in terms of having all of those main tropes pushing the story, but I think it's doing it in a way that I can connect to the characters. It's like third-person relative storytelling. So that makes me go, oh, there's a lot of characters here, but I'm interested in when it dips in and out of each of them. So I think that's a great merit to this book, and I hope that I end up liking it and finishing it very soon. Rating wise, I'm not sure what this will be yet. Probably a 3.5 at the moment, and we'll see what happens later on. And then we get into the audiobooks that I borrowed because I thought, oh, it will be great to reread this book because I loved this, but I read it a while ago and I want to revisit all of the feels that I had when I read this. And it's a standalone fantasy book by Victoria Schwab, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have a separate review of this, and it's a video that's done quite well. And this follows Addie in the 1600s, and she accidentally makes a deal with a demon. And because of this deal, everybody forgets who she is as soon as they look away or walk away from her. And so she's really struggling in terms of identity and connection. And then in modern day, she runs into somebody and he recognizes her the next time he sees her. And that's never happened to her before. So it's a great character and moral interplay in this story, combined with elements of the supernatural and demons at the same time. And it really struck me when I read it the first time. It was quite emotionally intense, but in a good way. And I was quite surprised at the depth of this story. But I saw it on my library app and I was like, oh, I'd love to reread this. Yes, please. And I didn't realize it was actually available. So now I have it on audiobook, and I'm probably going to return it as an audiobook and then borrow it again later on when I feel like rereading it, because I was vaguely thinking about this one. It's not like I wanted to absolutely pick it up next. I've got a lot going on right now. But because I saw it and I was scrolling through Libby the way you would kind of scroll through online shopping, it's like shopping for free. And I was like, oh, let's do this one again. Yeah, that was a mistake because I don't have time or motivation to read it right now, but it's kind of on the outskirts of my thoughts. So it will happen soon, I hope. Not quite yet. And, you know, because it's quite thick, I was thinking that on my commute, it would be a great book to read because I've paused my Audible subscription. So I was really trawling Libby and looking for things to queue up for future me. It was accidentally given to present me instead of future me. So oops. I did give this 5 stars when I first read it. I think I'm going to give it the same rating when I read it again. When I read it again, though, is up to future Beck. The other book that I got on Libby was called The Nature of Witches. And I genuinely don't know anything about this. I've just seen it around, recognized the title vaguely, and said, yeah, I'd like to borrow this. It's a 10-hour audiobook too, which was part of the appeal because I know it's not going to take me too long necessarily to get through if I decide to start it. But I think it's about Clara, and she is a witch that has power over all of the seasons. Obviously in this story, I think it's about seasonal witches, and usually a witch has 1 power per season, but Clara has power over all. So it's kind of like the Avatar, but for witchery and seasons. And I was like, cool, that already sounds like something I'd be keen on. The book says that Clara needs to choose between her power and the people that she loves. I think there is a low-key romance in here too that kind of drives some of her decision making throughout the story. I'm looking forward to giving it a try, but I haven't actually tried any of the chapters yet. It's really just reserved as an audiobook. Am I going to read it soon? I'm not sure. I was hoping to maybe read it on my holiday coming up very soon. We'll see how it goes because it's definitely not going to happen on a train commute anytime soon. And then in an attempt to continue understanding my finances based on my September wrap-up when I read She's on the Money, I reserved The Barefoot Investor, which is another strategy book regarding your finances at like an everyman level, so you understand different long-term and short-term goals to put in place for your own savings and how to make your money work better for you. That's why I borrowed this book, but I have the hold until like 2 months, maybe a month and a half, so more than the end of this month. So it's not necessarily the next book that I'm going to read, but it's one that I've got queued up to listen to when, again, I'm on the train a lot. So you can tell really what was the driving factor of a lot of the books on my to be read pile right now. But I'm hoping to get through pretty much all of my physical books very shortly. Maybe I'll bring some of them when I go on my little short holiday as well, but we'll see. So yeah, ultimately that is all that is on my currently reading list right now, which is a fair few things. But if you've read any of these, let me know what you rated them as well. I'd be interested to know. But thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.